It's Children's Night. It's Friday. So we are having a program for young people. Now, young people can be up to the age of 300. And you can tell looking by our teller tonight that he's been around for several centuries. From the time of swashbuckling villains riding the seventh sea with cannon and cutlass. I'm sure. I'm sure he's not that bloody. I'm sure he. No, he is. He's covered in gore. He's just washed his shirt. He told me. He told me he couldn't possibly come performing to children in a shirt that was covered in blood. So he washed it specially for people's sensibilities. So without further ado, can we please put our hands together and welcome our tonight teller, Mike. In fact, Captain Mike. Captain Mike Facherty. Over to you, Mike.
Well, thank you, young John. Thank you for that welcome. Now, I suppose I'm going to have to tell a couple of stories here, aren't I? Otherwise, you'll never pay me.
That's true.
Now, I was just thinking I could tell you the story of the gingerbread man. Now, you might think you know the story, but you probably don't know the true story. You probably know the story the fox put about. I'm going to tell you the truth. True as I'm writing this shit. Okay, now, you know how it'll start. See, this is old lady, and she's doing some baking. She's baking because it's her birthday. And she's made a great big tray of cakes. And now she's made a tray of gingerbread men. And she takes them out of the oven, pops them on the rack to cool. And when they're cooling, she decorates them. And as she's finishing, the very first one, the first gingerbread man, he jumps off the rack down onto the floor and whoo, he's gone. He scurries across the floor and out the door into the garden. She's surprised. It's never happened before. But eventually she gets her wits together and she goes racing after him, racing as much as an old lady can race. And she says, stop, stop. And the gingerbread man, those of you who know the old story probably know what he said. You're welcome to join in. The gingerbread man said, run, run as fast as you can.
You can't catch me, I'm the gingerbread man.
Absolutely, he's going to say that a lot. And he kept running. He was right, she couldn't catch him. I mean, she was an old lady. What chance did she have? Then he ran past the field. And in the field, there was a cow. What do you think the cow said? I'll tell you. It said, mm. And of course, that's cow for stop, stop. He didn't stop. He called out, run, run.
As fast as you can.
And you can't
catch me, I'm the gingerbread man.
He was right. The cow was behind a hedge. How could it catch him? He kept running. And he ran past a dog. And the dog said, ruff, ruff. Can anyone tell me what that's dog for? No, it's dog for stop, stop. He didn't stop. He called out, run.
Run, run, fast as you can. You can't catch me, I'm the gingerbread man.
He was right. Dog couldn't catch him. He ran past a donkey. Now, what did the donkey say, John?
Oink, oink.
He said, oink. And that didn't make him stop. I think, John, you were getting your donkeys and your pigs mixed up. It's just a thought.
E-O, John.
Absolutely.
E-O. 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 E-O.
Well, that was very good.
Thank you.
I'm well impressed with your donkey, my dear. And then he rode up. He starts calling back to the old donkey. Run,
run, run, fast as you can. You
and
can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man.
That's exactly what he said. He was right. Donkey couldn't catch him. Then he ran by a racehorse. Now, we all know what a racehorse would say.
Yay!
Exactly. And you know how fast a horse runs, don't you? They're really quick, especially a racehorse. But the gingerbread man, cheeky devil, he called out, run,
Run fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man.
And you know what? He was right. Even a racehorse couldn't catch him. He had some legs on him, I tell you. Anyway, then he ran through the woods and he ran past the fox. And the fox said, oh, I say, would you like to come back to my place for supper? Very smooth character, the fox. And also, I don't know what noise they make. And the gingerbread man, he was having none of it. He said, run
fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man.
Exactly what he said. And he ran on. And the fox didn't bother running. He just got up and just sauntered along, calm and casual. Because he knew what was coming up. The gingerbread man didn't. So the gingerbread man ran out of the woods and round the corner. And there he was at the riverbank. He was stuck the wrong side of the river. There was no bridge, no boats, no road over. The fox came strolling out and the gingerbread man's looking around. He can't do anything. The fox says, oh dear, this is rather unfortunate, old gingerbread man. Aren't you able to carry on running or to get across the river? How very unfortunate. And he licked his lips like this a bit. Only not as messy. And a gingerbread man, well, I'll tell you what, that gingerbread man looked really worried. And I think he was quite right to be, don't you? I'll take your silence for consent. But just then, there was a splishing and a splashing and a lot of noise. And then a rowboat came into view. And the rowboat had a couple of the crew rowing, and sitting in the back was a gentleman. Not a gentleman, he was a pirate. But he was like an officer, an under officer, or what have you. And he's sitting in the back and he took the situation in a glance. And he calls out to the gingerbread man, no, you got a choice, my boy. You go with the fox or you can come with us. What do you think? And he says to the crew, come on, lads, row into the shore. And the gingerbread man, he looks at the fox and he looks at us. He looks back at the fox and he jumps into the boat. I think he made the right decision. You'll see. And I pulled out my cutlass. And I said, now, Mr. Fox, you've got a decision to make. Do you want to clear off or do you want to face the anger of Patch Peg? The fox cleared off. Of course he did. And me and the boys, we rowed on up the river. And the gingerbread man sat in the front of the boat, looked all around. He'd seen none of this stuff before, of course. He was really interested. And we were looking out for a suitable place. And I seen a place. And I said to the boys, come on, lads, row into the shore here. And what we had, it was a deserted cottage with a big old tree and a little bush. But best of all, a bit of a shingle beach where you could get the rowboat in easy. So we rowed in, well, they rowed in, and we beached the boat. And the lads and I got out and they carried our chest. And I said to the little gingerbread man, we just got a bit of a job to do here, my boy. And he said, oh, what are we doing? And I said, well, we've got to bury the Gus. And he says, the what? And I said, the Gus. He said, what's a Gus? And I said, it's a gold underground storage system, what you might term a treasure chest. And we've got it, it's full of gold, and we'll bury it, and we'll make sure it's nicely hidden. So what we did is we dug up the mulberry bush and put it to one side carefully. Then we dug a little hole underneath where it would go. We put in the Gus, we filled in the hole a bit, and then we put the bush back and we scattered the rest of the soil around. Because, you know, you don't want to make it obvious to you. You just dug up and put in treasure chest. We went back to the boat and we rowed back on down the river. And we were rowing along. We rowed past the place where the gingerbread man had joined us. And he looked back. There was no fox there. I think he'd cleared off for good. And we carried on rowing. And I says to the gingerbread man, do you know what, my boy? I've been thinking, we're a bit short-handed on the Zanzibar at the moment. That was our ship. It was the Zanzibar, finest ship that's ever sailed the Spanish Main. So we're a bit short-handed on the Zanzibar at the moment. Would you like me to have a word with the captain? Because Captain Roberts is a fair man. He'd give you a chance if anyone will. And the gingerbread man said, yes, please. Things aren't going well on land. So we carried on rowing. We rowed right the way down to the bay. And there she was, the Zanzibar. My little darling. Anyway, we rowed across. And I helped the little gingerbread man up the step ladder, up the rope ladder onto the deck. And there was the captain. And I says, excuse me, Captain, I got a man here who wants to join the crew. And the captain looked over. He said, he's a gingerbread man. I said, yes, he is, sir. He's a gingerbread man. He said, well, he's a bit small. And I said, yeah, he is small, but he is fierce. And he's ever so good at running. And the captain said, not a lot of call for running on a boat, is there? I said, no, sir, no. He said, well, I'll tell you what, though. We lost our cook in the last battle we had. This gingerbread man of yours, can he cook? I said, I don't know, sir. I'll ask him. And I said, gingerbread man, can you cook? And he said, I'll try and try as hard as I can. Could be good. I'm the gingerbread man. And the captain, I did say he was fair, didn't I? And he said, well, I'll tell you what, we'll give him a chance. He can make dinner. And if he can't make dinner, he'll make pudding. So it was a bit of a worry for the gingerbread man, but I tell you what, he made us a fish stew. Now you'd think being pirates, we'd get sick and tired of fish, but this fish stew he made, it was wonderful. It tasted fabulous. It was just the right consistency. It got all the bones out of the fish. Our old cook could never manage that. And I tell you what, that was just perfect. And after we'd eaten, the captain sat there and he said, oh, I tell you what, little gingerbread man, if you want it, you've got a berth here on the Zanzibar. And the little gingerbread man nodded. He couldn't speak. He was so full up with emotion. And the captain, he pulled out a little gold doubloon and said, that's for you to seal the deal. That's what happened. The gingerbread man, he came, he was the cook on the Zanzibar. He stayed with us for donkey's years. And I tell you, we've never had such a good cook. And I think he brought us luck. And that's the end of my story of the gingerbread man. It's done nothing rotten to me, so I feel guilty doing this, but I'm going to sing a song. You can join in if you know it.
No. We first mates do not say. All right, go on.
This is back when I was a young, back when I was about your age, John. Just a slip of a lad. And this is my song about running away to become a pirate. You might know it, and if you do, join in. If you don't, I'm sorry, you've got to listen to it. Here we go. When I was one, I took my gun the day I went to sea. I jumped aboard a pirate ship and the captain said to me, we're going this way, that way, forward and backwards over the Irish Sea. A bottle of rum to fill my tum and that's the life for me. O-R! I'd like everyone to do O-R. Shall I just do the chorus again? You can do O-R. Are we ready? A bottle of rum to fill my tum and that's the life for me.
Ooh-ar.
Thank you. It's good to hear someone. He just sat there, didn't he, and mouthed it, didn't make the noise. It's not finished, I'm afraid. Verse 2. When I was 2, I lost my shoe the day I went to sea. I jumped aboard the pirate ship and the captain said to me, we're going this way, that way, forward and backwards over the Irish Sea. A bottle of rum to fill my tum and that's the life for me.
Ooh-ar.
Oh, it's getting sore. I might be ooh-ahing in a higher octave from now. When I was 3, I hurt my knee the day I went to sea. I limped on board the pirate ship and the captain said to me, get over yourself. And then he went, we're going this way, that way, forward and backwards over the Irish Sea. A bottle of rum to fill my tum and that's the life for me. Ooh-ar!
Ooh-ar. Ooh-ar.
John, were you miming? I think Mr. John Brown was miming. He's not in whiteface, but he's miming. Okay, where was I? Oh, I'd hurt my poor old knee. When I was 4, I closed the door the day I went to sea. I jumped aboard the pirate ship and the captain said to me, "We're going this way, that way, forward and backwards over the Irish Sea. A bottle of rum to fill my tum, and that's the life for me."
Wow.
Heard you all that time. Didn't hear Ali, but that's okay. When I was 5, I learned to dive the day I went to sea. I jumped aboard the pirate ship and the captain said to me, "We're going this way, that way, forward and backwards over the Irish Sea. A bottle of rum to fill my tum, and that's the life for me."
Wow.
Just have one more chorus. I don't think you've suffered enough. A bottle of rum to fill my tum, and that's the life for me. Ow!
Wow.
That's the story that was. And then there was the song. I'll go tell you a pirate joke, if that's all right. And if it's not, I'm going to anyway, because I'm a pirate. That I don't have to abide by your rules. Why do pirates struggle so learning the alphabet? They spend so long stuck at
Don't know.
sea. Someone answer that one. Say that. They spend so long stuck at sea. You could laugh.
Ah.
But once they do learn it, what's their favourite letter?
R.
Indeed it is, John. Indeed it is. Who's their favourite character from Star Wars? R2D2. Enough of that rubbish. Let's do another story. Now, as you know, I'm going to get comfortable. A lot of ships have ship's cats. Even pirate ships. A lot of pirate ships, they have ship's cats. Now, ship's cat's all well and good, isn't it? I mean, it can do a bit of mouthing, a bit of ratting, and it can be a little bit of company for you, but they're not great, are they? On the Zanzibar, we ain't got a ship's cat. We've got a ship's dragon. I mean, did it make better sense, eh? Ship's dragon. It can fly up. It can serve as a lookout. It can get its own food. It can go fishing if you're at sea. It can go hunting on dry land and get himself a nice wild animal. Or, I'm sorry to say, it can get themselves pigs and bulls and cows. We found on that, of course, we're very moral, as you know, pirates. Anyway, our ship's dragon, she was a wonderful girl. She was called Dorothea Shadowclaw. Oh, Dottie to friends. And we were all friends. I hope I can call her Dottie with you guys, because I'm sure you would be friends with her if you knew her. She is a lovely girl. Bit of a temper, bit of a hot temper, but that's all right. That's why she fits in with the pirates. So, I was going to tell you a bit about Dottie. What's special about Dottie compared to some dragons is she can change size. She can get nice and small, which is wonderful because it means if there's no fishing or whatever, we can actually feed her when she's small. We couldn't feed her when she was big, but when she's small, we can feed her. And she's small, she can sleep on the ship at night in a special golden chest. And there's no danger of her setting fire to the ship with her snores, because you imagine the fiery snores of a big dragon on a wooden ship with pitch and gunpowder and tarred rope and everything. Don't bear thinking about, does it? But the wonderful thing with the golden chest is that Captain Roberts lets her sleep in her golden chest in his cabin. He's nice and cozy. You know, they say rank has its privileges. They're not wrong. The rest of us, you know, oh, it's all right, you know, but Captain Roberts, he's all, oh, it's all right, and it's all right for some. But anyway, I want to tell you a little bit of an adventure that happened. One day, oh, I should have already said, but I didn't. Captain Roberts and I both had, I don't know if you can hear that. Hopefully not, because that's dragon pitch. We had dragon whistles. So if she was away hunting, fishing, spying for us, she could come back when we called her. So one day she'd been away and she'd looked around. She hadn't seen any ships for us to avoid or to attack. So she'd gone to do a bit of fishing. She'd seen a huge, apparently giant barracuda. and she was just diving down to get this barracuda when Captain Roberts blew a real blast on the whistle, and it sort of distracted her for a moment, and she wound up splashing down into the sea. She got a great gulp of seawater took in, and there's so much water that the flood of seawater, it put out the fires, her internal fires. Now, I'm sure you know the only reason dragons can fly is because of their internal fires. That poor old thing, she was stuck there, couldn't fly, couldn't come back flying to us. She had to swim all the way back to the ship, using her wings to scull, you know, it's not easy. And when she got close enough to the ship so we could see her, we put the jolly boat out to go and pick her up, and she made herself small, and we brought her back to the ship in the boat. And when we told Captain Roberts what had happened, he was mortified. You can imagine, he was mortified. He said, "Oh my God, I've done this. It's my fault. I'm in that whistle. I wish I'd never blown it. Now we're going to have to sort things out here." So he lit a slow match like we would use to fire the cannon to light the priming powder. And he got her to breathe in and out with this. Didn't work, didn't do any good. Now, she went to see her friend, the ship's cook, the gingerbread man, and he made her a hottest madras curry you could imagine. And she woofed a lot. She ate like a dragon. Woof. And it cheered her up a bit, but it didn't light her fires. She was, I tell you, she was, the gingerbread man, he got some hot coals out of the stove, and she crunched down on them. Nothing. Didn't light the fires. You should have seen her. She was moping around the ship. She didn't even bother to race after the cats. Okay, let's try that again. She didn't even bother to hunt the rats and the mice. Sorry about that. My tongue got run away with me. She just moped about. She looked, and she was normally redder than that. And she just sort of faded and faded and faded. She was fading to like a pale pink. And we were thinking, she ain't going to make it. She ain't going to make it. Then she suddenly had a recollection. And she explained to us that not too far off, she'd seen a volcanic island. And one of the things that would be bound to be hot enough to set her off again was the fires in a volcano. So as quick as that, we sailed to Zanzibar to the volcanic island. We rowed to shore with Dottie, and we went onto the mountain. And then we realised the sides of the mountain were so steep, we couldn't climb up to the peak. Couldn't get her up to the caldera. And it wouldn't have been a problem if she could fly, because she could have just flown up. But of course, the reason we were going was because she couldn't fly. So we were stuck there and couldn't think what to do. Well, Captain Roberts had another idea. We went down to the beach and we built a huge bonfire, piping hot. And they sort of pulled apart the bits and got her into the middle so she could. Did no good. Even that didn't do any good. Couldn't light her internal fires. We were thinking, oh, nothing. And we were very miserable as we sailed back to the ship, I can tell you. And as we got on the ship, the gingerbread man cook called, "While you were gone, I had an idea. I don't know if it'll work, but this is my idea. You know how hot it gets when you fire a cannon?" Is John asleep?
I don't think he's asleep, no.
Just in case, I don't want to disturb anyone. And so he said, if you fire a cannon, it gets burning hot. Maybe we could do something with that. And Captain Roberts thought about it and said, "Dottie, would you be willing to float in the water just outside one of the cannon ports, and we'll fire a cannon, unloaded, just a blank shot into your mouth, and by God, let's hope that works." So Dottie was willing. And the captain turned to me and said, Patch Peg, I need you to do it because it's got to be done right. I said, "Right, oh, Captain." And I went down and I loaded the cannon. I rammed in the powder. I put a little wad in to hold it in place. I didn't put in a cannonball because that would have been a disaster, wouldn't it? And then I primed it very carefully with my best priming powder. And I got the slow match and I lit the priming powder. And Dottie was just sitting outside and I fired the cannon. And Dottie was blown far away. But it did relight her fires. I tell you, she took off and she flew around the ship 3 times with her shins. It was all right. I went, no, I did go with her shins. She flew around the ship 3 times with her shins and just caroled out this noise I can't even attempt, not with this throat. And came down and flew towards the deck and got smaller and smaller until she landed on the deck. And she was so chuffed. And from that day forward, she and the gingerbread man, they were the best friends ever because he'd restored her fires. And what do you think to that? And of course, this is the thing I need to stress. That's a true story. Oh, why are you laughing? You work just the right time, John. I wondered if I could tell you another pirate joke. Doesn't help if you say
course, no. Of course.
Of course. Why couldn't the pirates, when they were on watch, play cards?
Mm.
Oh, there was an officer on the deck.
Oh.
Ah.
How did the pirate steal the other pirate's treasure? I'll tell you. He opened his GUS, his gold underground storage system or treasure chest, with a skeleton key. Dear, oh dear. What do clown pirates have on their flag? A skull and funny bone. I'll stop with the pirates now, shall I? Perhaps I can tell you a story that's got nothing to do with pirates. How would that be?
Well, I think that's good. That's good. We'll go and land for a minute. I just I've got to get out of my bunk.
Okay.
I climb up to the upper deck and then down the gangplank. Are you down the gangplank, Lucy?
Yes, definitely.
Are you on shore? That's right.
Yes.
Lucy's on shore. I'm on
Yeah,
shore.
yeah.
You can tell her. You can tell her a non-pirate story now.
I'm going to tell you a proper story this time, not one I made up or a true one. One I heard first from Peter Chand. It's a story from the Punjab, but I'm afraid I've taken it and I've changed it about a bit. Can't be trusted, you see. That's what pirates are like. So there was this little boy. His name was Atul. And ever since he was a tiny boy, he'd wanted a dog. But he and his mum were very poor. And every year she'd say, we'll see, which he knew full well meant no. You know, that's what grown-ups do, isn't it? They say, we'll see. He ain't gonna do it. And one year, suddenly, just before his birthday, she said, actually, I know a man who's got a dog, and he said we can have it. So you can have a dog this year. You can imagine Atul was made up. But then just the night before his birthday, there was a great flood. And the valley they lived in was just flooded right across the way, the river right up over its banks. And the poor old dog got washed away. And the guy who was going to give him the dog, he said, I'm sorry, to Atul's mum. He said, I'm sorry, look, I haven't got a dog for him. It's been washed away. He said, all I can find that I could give him is this old drumstick, one drumstick. That's all I can find. One drumstick's not much good to anyone, is it? No, it's not. He said, but that's all I've got. So Atul's mum said, well, thank you. I'll give him that. You know, he'll understand. He's a good boy. He is a good boy. So Atul came down for his birthday. He's all excited. Where's my dog? Where's my dog? And his mum had to say, oh, Atul, I haven't got a dog for you this year. It's been washed away. Said, I've got a drumstick. And Atul's, you can imagine he was really disappointed. I mean, it was a proper Vic Firth drumstick. Even so, he was quite disappointed. But as I said, he was a good boy. So he said, oh, Mum, that's lovely. Thank you. said, I can teach my drumstick tricks just like it was a real dog. He taught it tricks like stay and lie down, play dead, roll over. Just did it on its own. Look, roll over. You probably hear it rolling over. And of course, fetch. And his mum was a bit upset about all this. She said, Atul, go outside and play. Go outside and play. And he said, all right. He said, I'll take my stick for a walk. And he tied a little bit of string around it. I can say around its neck, around the bit at the end there. And took it outside for a walk. And he was walking along. He was walking towards the river and to the first bridge. They could just about get onto the bridge because the water had gone down a little bit. And suddenly he could smell all this black, acrid smoke getting up his nose. And he could hear someone coughing. And so he walked across the bridge, and there was the village baker. And she was really upset. Her oven was pumping out smoke. And Atul said, oh no, what's wrong? And she said, it's this flood, isn't it? I had my kindling out by the oven and it's got soaked. My kindling is soaking wet. I can't get my oven to light. And Atul, I told you he was a good boy, he said, I tell you what, I've got this nice dry varnished drumstick. If we chop it up, you could use it for kindling and get your oven working. So she did. And she chopped up the drumstick and she put it in. And it caught fire quickly, and she put a little bit of kindling on it and then a little bit of wood. And before you know it, the oven was working properly. And she baked some lovely roti. And the first bit out of the oven, she spread it with butter. And she gave it to Atul and said, now you carry that, my boy. Don't eat it just yet because it'll be hot, but you can carry that. And he said, well, thank you. Thank you. And he walked away. And as he walked away, he said to himself, wow. What a strange and wonderful birthday. I wanted a dog, but I got a stick that turned into some bread. And he walked along and then he heard a baby crying. It was really bad. Sort of, you know, like babies do. And he came along and there was the village potter. And he says to the potter, what's wrong? And the potter says, I'm minding the baby and he's starving hungry and the village baker isn't doing any bread because there's been the flood and her kindling's wet. And Atul, he was a good boy. And he said to the potter, look, I got some bread. You could give that to the baby and he'll stop crying. And so the potter broke off some of the bread, gave it to the baby. And oh, it was lovely. It's all quiet. And then suddenly it wasn't quite so quiet. It was sort of a... And the baby had fallen asleep. So the potter said, thank you, Atul. You're a really kind boy. Tell you what, have this big wash pot to say thank you. Yeah, this blooming great wash pot that Atul could barely hold. And Atul, oh, thank you then. And as he walked away, he was saying to himself, oh, what a strange and wonderful birthday. I wanted a dog, but I got a stick that turned into some bread, that turned into a pot. He carried on going. And then he got to the other bridge and he went back across to the other side of the river, his own side. And he heard a tremendous noise, cursing and swearing and shouting. And there was the village laundryman. And Atul said, what's wrong? And the laundryman sort of forced himself to calm down a bit. And he said, do you know, I'm an idiot. And Atul said, what do you mean you're an idiot? Well, I left my wash pot out last night and the flood has smashed it on the rocks and I can't do the washing. Now, Atul's a good boy, so you know what he said, don't you? I've got this great big pot. You can have it so you can do the washing. And he gave the laundryman the pot. And the laundryman started doing some washing in the pot. He said, you know what, Atul? You're such a good boy. Now, I've got this old coat that no one's ever collected. It's a nice warm coat. You must have it. And Atul said, oh, thank you very much. And he got this coat and he had to sort of roll the sleeves up about 8 times. And he had to hoik it right up and tie that little bit of string that he still had from when he was walking his stick to hold the coat up. And he was walking along in this coat. He was saying, oh, I like this. Oh, I do like this. And he said, "It's a strange and wonderful birthday. I wanted a dog, but I got a stick that turned into bread. You could join in here. That turned into a pot. That turned into a
Coat.
coat. Strange and wonderful." He carried on walking, and suddenly he heard, "Achoo! Achoo!" And he went, and by the bushes was a man just in his long johns and all his clothes on the bush. And the man had a little dog in his arms. And Hassel said, "What on earth's wrong?" And the man said, "Well, I was walking along and I saw this little dog caught in the floods, caught with a branch. And I was afraid he'd drown or something. So I jumped in and got him. But now my clothes are all sopping wet and I'm freezing." Hassel was a good boy. And he said, "I've got this coat."
Oh.
And he gave the man his coat. And the man put the dog down a minute, put the coat on, and started to just warm up a bit and stop shivering so much and stop sneezing. He said, "Hassel, you're such a good boy." I don't know how he knew his name. I mucked that up. He said, "Little boy, you're so good. Thank you for the coat. Now, will you do me another favour?" And Atul said, "Yes, of course. What would you like?" He said, "Would you take this little dog that I rescued from the floods and would you take him home and look after him and make him your own dog?" And I was, "Oh, yes, I will. I definitely will." And he tied his little bit of string around the dog's neck and off he walked with his new dog. And as he walked along, he thought, what a strange and wonderful birthday. I wanted a dog, but I got a stick that turned into some
Bread.
turned into
A
pot,
pot.
turned into a coat,
Coat.
that turned into
A
of
dog.
my very own. I must get home and tell Mum. And that's what he did. He went off home and he told his mum. And she was really pleased for him because it was the dog that was his, wasn't it? And that's what you get for being a good, kind boy. I hope there's a lesson in there for us all. We pirates, we know to be good and kind.
I'll try my best.
You do your best. That's all you can do, John. It might not be much, but it's your best.
That was brilliant, brilliant, Mike, brilliant.
Did you like that version?
I love that version.
I love Peter's, and I heard a guy called Cleveland, Robert Cleveland, was it, or Richard Cleveland, doing it, an American guy, and it was really good too. But I just liked that. Sorry, I've broken character. Shall I finish? That seems best, doesn't it? Now that I'm out of character.
Well,
What do you think?
I don't know that you've dropped out of character because we've gone ashore, right?
Yeah.
And you're just we're in public, so and we can't have you if you walk around as a pirate in public, you're going to get yourself arrested.
Okay.
So
well, I'll take that.
So for this moment.
There you go.
But for this part of the conversation, you've unpirated yourself, and you're disguised as this guy called Mike.
Yes. Okay.
And,
I'll pretend.
which,
hang on, I've got glasses to make me look even different. How's that?
Oh, that's a much better disguise. Now we can
I could be an accountant, couldn't I? Something like
that. we can go to polite company.
Yes.
And we can
polite airs and graces.
Airs and graces, and we could sort of enter classrooms and such.
We could.
And respectable places where children hang out.
That's true.
And but because you can't have pirates because they tend to take the school dinners.
Well, not if they got the gingerbread man cooking for them back.
No, obviously not.
They wouldn't make do with school dinners.
Mike, that was marvelous. Thank you very much. Captain Peg didn't do a bad job either.
No, good old Patch Peg, the portly pirate.
Patch Peg, yeah, brilliant. Great night. Well, thank you very much. Can we all give Mike and Patch Peg a huge round of applause? Thank you. And next week, next Friday, we have from Northern Ireland, we've got Eamon coming on. So that'll be a treat. It's always a treat on Friday.
That's my favourite night. Children's stories.
So thank you very much, Mike, again, and we'll see you all next Friday. If there's any adults out there listening that want to tell stories, you can come on Sunday to the Worldwide Story Round and join in. Go to the website and look at the schedule. But for now, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, my friends. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ali, for driving the bus, or in this case, steering the ship.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, guys.